Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Spooky Show with Eric and myself. And tonight, we are so excited to have the one and only Mr. Steve Mera in the house. Whoop, 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 whoop. Hi, Steve.
Thank you. Hi guys, thanks for having me on.
Well, you know what? We people in the chat, I have to apologise. We are late tonight because we've been talking behind the scenes that we just forgot to go on air. But you're going to love tonight. Steve is such an interesting guy. He does so much for not just the paranormal community, but for the UFO, for the cryptid, for all of us. And he's always pushing boundaries, and he's an innovator. So thank you for what you do, Steve. We don't want you to give this up ever. We won't let you. You do know that.
Yeah, it is life consuming, this subject. I can't see me giving up it anytime soon.
No. And I know that this conversation tonight is going to go on a little bit. So before we even start, we want you back on another show so we can continue with this.
Absolutely, yeah, no problem.
Can we start? And people in the chat, thank you for joining. Tim's there and Rita's there. Please don't be shy. Say hello. Put your questions. You can stop us at any point and we'll put them to Steve. Hi, William. We will put them to Steve because we know what it's like when Steve's talking about a certain thing and you're asking a question and then we've carried on and you want to go back, we have to go back to that spot. So I'm sure Steve won't mind if we interrupt you.
No.
But Steve, I want to take you back to the beginning. Let's start with Phenomena magazine because it is a phenomenon in itself, isn't it? It is grown and grown.
Well, it was. Yeah, it's been going on for quite some years now. I mean, when I took over an organisation called MAPIT, that was Manchester's Aerial Phenomena Investigation Team. It was formed in 1973. It was about one of the third longest running organisations in the country. I took over it around about late 80s, early 90s, from a gentleman called David Rees. Now, they had a magazine which was called Skywatch, and this was a MAPIT magazine. It was in-house magazine, and then when I came along, I decided to change the name to Phenomena magazine, and it was only an in-house to members. But the demand got pretty high because people kept saying, Steve, how do we get it without having to join the organisation? And at that time, I was already an editor for an organisation known as NARROW, Northern Anomalies Research Organisation, which with Jenny Randalls and Peter Hoff. We did a lot of research in that organisation. So I was already editor of a magazine that they had called Narrow Minded, funny enough. Anyways, I thought, okay, we'll start putting it out to people that wanted it. And it grew and grew. So I thought, well, it's time not to have it as an in-house magazine and flip the coin and have it as anyone can have it. And we decided to start putting that out. And, we wanted to make sure that, it's not something that people have to put their hand in the pocket for, because it's information and you don't have to pay for it, information. I've always been very stern about that. You're contending with the internet now, and there's so much information on the internet. It's about networking, and it's about breaking those barriers of language through other countries. So this is the reasons why we started to expand into 12 countries now, and multiple languages, and a complete separate edition under the Spanish edition, which is it isn't a duplicate of ours in a different language. It is a standalone. We have our own editors doing their own work in different languages and different things in the magazine. So it has become a network, and we have now 15, 16 years of monthly issues. It's a free monthly magazine. It's available on our website. The website has been changed. It's been upgraded. It's come under our formal company, which is Awakening Events Limited. But when you go on there, you can just select Phenomena magazine, and you've got all the details there how obtain it. There's even perks and memberships and stuff for those that like to get into, obtaining news clippings and information and all sorts of stuff. So yeah, we like it because it's about obtaining information and networking, and that's what's good about it.
I've just I've written it there. I think I've spelt it right. I could be wrong.
Awakening
Events Limited.
Yeah, that's it.
Hi, Ian. Good to see you, buddy.
Ian.
So, do you when you've been out on expeditions and things, does these things that appear in the magazine, are they that other people are writing in it for? Does it inspire you to go and?
Well, I mean, we do our stuff. I mean, we focus on Project Doorway. We have been now for almost 9 years now, myself and Barry Fitzgerald. And most people will know Barry from Ghost Hunters International, one of the lead investigators. We've been working for a long time together because we just click. We just think we work. We don't need to ask each other. We just know what to do intrinsically. And it's hard to find somebody when you can just walk into the field and get straight onto it. And he knows he's very much like me, or I'm very much like him. And we met completely accidentally. And it just struck up straight away.
I must admit, seeing you and Barry together, it's like you're two naughty, like your brothers. It's like you're twins in a sense.
Yeah, I mean, him and Donna is become like family to us.
Yeah.
And we spend time together. We've been away. We've travelled all around the world. We've spent so much time, and I visit Ireland, and that is always the surprise. Barry always takes me to some crazy places, and they are crazy. He's always keeps something up, and so we've been working a long time together. So yeah, we do our expeditions. We've just come back from Spain. We were in the Pyrenees Mountains.
Yeah,
it was 49 degrees.
Nice.
It was hard work trying to climb the mountains. Is not easy. Now this is a location where it's extremely remote. Nobody really is going in there. And we had to get to a certain location because of the phenomena. And it was interesting that when we met up with just the people, that lived around, about the stories they had to tell. They were very nice, very open. And they supplied us and provided us photographic evidence of all sorts of things. And
wow.
It's not only, crazy regarding the UFO phenomena, which is traveling into the mountain, and the mountain's called the Lost Mountain, by the way, funny enough. They're going in there at dusk and dawn, and but it's this striking paranormal phenomenon down there as well. And there is also reports of cryptid, the strange beast man, which has been seen and been reported for hundreds of years in that location. So but all the above, and that's what we like about these particular places. But it was a difficult one. We spent about a week there, but we did manage to meet up with a number of the country's leading investigators, and and have a chat about the research and stuff that we've been doing. And it was good. It's good fun, but it's also about advancing the research and our understanding of what this phenomenon represents.
Can I just say, Terry? Right, you're saying Barry is a nice guy. To be honest, and you mustn't tell Barry this, but Steve is my favourite. Just don't.
It'll be going on now.
No, don't you show him this, Steve. Honestly,
I will say nothing.
As it stands, it's with regards to the poll here, and Spimply Spooky, it stands at 50-50. Tim says, Steve, I read you were associated with the X-Files. Please, could you tell us more about this?
Yeah, absolutely. This is from Tim. Yeah, well, I mean, when X-Files was out, Chris Carter, I was in the field and I've been writing for a long time. So supplied information which got wrote into 3 different episodes of the X-Files. And this is around about from season 3 onwards. And I got introduced to the team, and I was kind of part of the invited to there was an X-Files convention in Manchester, and some of the stars turned up, so that was interesting. So yeah, I enjoyed it. I mean, it's I still try and watch them now and again, and I feel like they're good, but they're just outdated now, compared to what we know now. I'd love to see a more modern version, being produced. But it's enjoyable. I enjoyed it. Yeah. So yes, I had some, and I was featured in some magazines and posters and things like that. But yeah, it was good fun.
Well, I know they did try to do that, but it didn't last very long, like a couple of episodes, and they cut it off right away.
Yeah, because I think people have changed. It's the times have changed, and we need something a little bit more with a kick in it now to I mean, look at your Game of Thrones type stuff. I mean, it's just that's the sort of this is what people are expecting entertainment now. People have become very bored very quickly. The expand keeping concentrated is been limited now. It's not as long as it used to be, and keeping people entertained is hard. More so now, because everybody just wants it now, straight away. Give it. I don't want a story. Just get into the special effect, and it's difficult. Times have certainly changed since the first of the X-Files.
Yeah. Can you imagine if they redid the Outer Limits? I've been rewatching them, by the way. The monsters, they're clearly a rubber suit, but I'm really enjoying it. It's brilliant.
I like some of the old stuff, I really do, but it's got its place.
Yeah.
Because we've come on so much now that what we got to make sure is that we don't go too sci-fi. It needs a storyline.
Yeah.
And that's the problem, because the best things have a storyline. You can't just get into it throwing sci-fi, all these AI images and special effects onto screen. It's worthless without a good gripping story. And the good thing about series like that is that it's a different episode each week. It's not one episode extended on throughout as the series, like a serial. It's one different thing. So nobody ever knew what was coming up the following week.
Yeah.
And episodes, I do know that episodes were switched around purposely to make sure that there was an even amount between, say, through a season, that all the UFO stuff wasn't lumped together.
Yeah.
So yeah, it can be tricky.
I want to ask you about this Project Doorway and these new experiments and things that you've been working with. Oh. Can you tell us about any? Have you published any? Is there something you want to get off your chest?
Well, we do publish. We have scientific reports which have to, normally to go through to the peer reviewing process. But I mean, these are very scientific and academic reports, and because it's demonstrating, the process of our investigation, what equipment, is there any false positives? Is it replicatable? Now, Project Doorway, if some of you guys, viewers, don't know what that is, it's a correlation between, though that the subject will refer to it as advanced study in UAP, terminology UFO, but it's the paranormal associations and the paranormal aspects to communications with non-human intelligences or intelligences. We don't really know what they are, some of these things. And it's that process. Now, that process comes from two sides. It comes through the advanced studies in UAP, but it also comes through the advanced studies of paranormal mechanics.
Right.
And it's the paranormal mechanics which we've discovered, which is absolutely is my area. That's I'm absolutely fascinated about how things tick, and that probably comes from my childhood, because my dad was an engineer, and I kind of started as an engineer. Did some work at NATO for a short time, and when I was a kid, we used to take things apart and put them back together.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how my mind is. I say everything. My dad used to say, everything comes apart, Stephen. And everything can be put back together. And I kept that in mind, and I think to myself, I want to know. I don't want to know about the film. I want to know about how it does it.
Yeah.
Why? How it does it. And to do that, I have to break it down. I have to look at the little pieces, the mechanics that gives us the ideas, and gives them a way as to what's really going on. Because it's hard to see on a full picture, you see, because it's so varied.
Yeah.
Now, we've done studies in seance. We've done studies in instrumental transcommunication.
Mm-hmm.
We've done studies regarding communication with an NHI, which is the non-human intelligence. This is communication beyond your spiritual communication. Though that the practice should be that you enter into spiritual communication, then you push through and you start to get poltergeist type things happen.
Yeah.
And you push through to the point of requesting contact with things not of our realm or reality. Yeah. It's all down to the wording. You can't say ETs or things like that. You know, it's anything above that. And then what happens is you can get into the NHI program. Now, what's interesting is that once you obtain NHI level of communication, the recordings or DVP that comes out of the air, it's always above you as well for some reason. If you sat down, it's above you. If you stood up, it's above you. You know, it's when it comes out the air, you have to say it's neither male nor female. You can't really put your finger on it. It certainly sounds like a kind of human voice.
Yeah.
Well, there's arguments between the experimentals and ourselves saying, well, is it male? Well, I thought it sounded female, but no, it is definitely male, and it's one of them. We just can't.
Yeah.
Well, maybe there is no male and female, because after all, they're not using vocal cords.
No.
Because when we record these recordings and you put them through analysis, you'll find that one recording is at 16 hertz, right? The other one is at 29,000 hertz. And you're thinking, well, hang on a second, one's below human vocals and one's above human vocals. So how are we supposed to...
two different beings.
Well, the thing is, you see, what's interesting is that, you know, these recordings captured on recording devices are being captured. Now, we had to bring in, through our experiments, Olympus, the tech guys,
right,
and use their equipment for the test procedures. So the tech guys are there. You know, it's their equipment. They built it. They know how it works. The operating range is from 20 to 20,000 hertz. That's the vocal response. That's how to capture our vocals. Anything below that or above that, we wouldn't hear. So the device isn't designed to record it. It's no point, because you wouldn't play it back. You wouldn't hear it.
Yeah.
Now, the problem is that, you know, sometimes we hear nothing. There's no harmonics in the air. So in other words, no sound is being produced from 20 to 20,000 hertz. And yet the recorder plays back the EVP or instrumental transcommunication communication at a range which is higher or lower than the equipment should be capable of recording.
Yeah, yeah.
So you think to yourself, well, how is this happening? Well, it turns out that the recorders were never recording it. The phenomena is transplacing it directly into the device.
Oh.
It's called transplacement phenomena.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we had 3 of these devices running instantaneously all together. And what was interesting, though we heard nothing, there was a female voice on one, a male voice on the second, and just strange sounds, pops and clicks and things on the third. But even that shouldn't have been on there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's got to be transplaced. I'm going to put that on there. I'm going to put that on there. I'm going to put that on there.
Yeah.
Transplacing. So through experiments, what we realized is that it initiated through the old cassette recordings.
Yeah.
Now, the cassette recordings were recording vocal responses even when the microphone was taken out of the recorder. Then, one step forward is to remove the recording head. When you press record, this thing comes up and touches you.
Yeah.
The strip. Let's take that out. It still captured the vocal.
Wow.
So this is where it gets really, really crazy, because this is what I was talking about, the paranormal mechanics. Unplugged it, and it still captured the vocal.
Wow.
In fact, you could just put the cassette on the side. You even have to have it inside the equipment.
Yeah.
You could have it set just sat on the table and he can transplace to it. Now, that's the same way how they do it by putting images onto camera film that's not even loaded into camera. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Now, when we took it one step further, we realized actually we ourselves are also pieces of equipment.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes they can transplace directly to us.
Yeah.
And it's not harmonic, it's going on the inside of our ears, the cochlear inner ear, because there's no sound in the ear, so your eardrum's not moving. So that's pointless, but yet you're hearing it. And people have said, I've just heard my name called. What? Well, I didn't hear anything. Well, we can't really rule that out because transplacement can target an individual. Or on some occasions, like we've done in experiments, we've heard a vocal response and we've said, write it down. We want to know write it down what you heard. We all show each other. We all heard the same thing. Recording devices, not one of them picked it up.
Yeah.
And yet, if it was harmonic, because you can't tell the difference if it's transplaced to your inner self or it's harmonic in the air, because it sounds the same, but it could have been harmonic because all the recording equipment would have picked it up because they're designed to record harmonic sound.
Something like that just happened to me, and to be totally honest, I think I heard it more here than I did here. So
yeah, well, the thing is that when they're transplacing to us, we now can find the evidence to support it because it's things changing within our ear canals, which is interpreted by signals and liquid and hairs into movement. That movement is interpreted into frequency and sound, and it's just that information is being processed by the head into language. Now, that's what gets it really interesting because, we've always said about there doesn't seem to be many barriers regarding language communications. Though that people have recorded foreign language,
Yeah.
but it doesn't matter if what pose you question to them in what language, they can answer it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's like the mediumship thing, isn't it? That's exactly what you're talking about.
It's really fascinating.
But it was really
mind-blowing
to me. It was a British woman's voice, a younger one, and I live in Wisconsin. There is no British people here, period.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, this is
Irene's in Japan, and so just a big shout out to Irene. She can't sleep.
Oh, right. All right. Hi, Irene. Unfortunately, can't sleep. Well, maybe not after listening to this show.
So have you sort of done these experiments with a medium that's receiving this information? And
we have used mediums, but what tends to happen, we get caught up in something which is referred to as the transpositional triangle of contact. Now, let me just explain that for your listeners. A relative of yours passes away. You go and see a medium or psychic. Now, some of them are very gifted. You sit there and you wanted to see if you can communicate with a relative that's passed away. Now, what's happening is, right, because we know through test procedures when we were in communications with these entities that we were allowed to ask questions. And we actually outlined 10 questions, but they delivered all 10 answers before we gave the question.
Yeah.
They're getting it from us.
Yeah.
So we now know through that demonstration, and it's not just once, it's happened a few times, they're demonstrating the fact that they're obtaining the information from the experimenters or sitters. So you go and see some psychic and you ask them, my relatives passed away, what if they're okay, that sort of thing. The phenomena, which is ever present on many occasions, goes, well, this is interesting. I'll play with this. So what it does is it obtains the information from you.
Yeah.
The phenomena delivers it back, not to you, but to the psychic. And the psychic really is psychic because she's in communication with the source and obtaining that information from it, is delivering it back to you. So you end up with a transpositional triangle of contact, you see, and it's going round and round and round. And it's building the hypothesis that you are communicating with a dead relative when Sometimes you're not. Sometimes it's obtaining information, it's being delivered back. Because you're going to say, oh my God, how does the psychic know that? There must be communication with my dead relative.
Yeah.
But really, that's not always the case. Now, I'm not saying they can't get in touch with dead relatives. That's probably maybe they can. But this is happening as well. And this is where it starts to muddy the water sometimes, because we've got to really work out what's going on. And we've done test procedures to prove that on many and many occasions.
Yeah. Sometimes I do think, as a medium, and this is the question that I've toyed with for the past 2 years now, are we being lied to? That's the big thing, but that will go in too deep, so I'm not going to ask questions about that.
It can get a bit heavy. I mean, myself and Barry have tried to debate this and gone on round and round in circles, because what we've got to consider is, once we lose a loved one, their consciousness, where's it go?
Yeah.
In the ether. Now, if the consciousness is in the ether, then ethereal hijacking might be able to take place. And that means that something can come along and tell you everything that person knows. And that's all we've got to rely on, is information to prove it is them. So that can be problematic. You know, we don't really know 100%. I would like to say, yes, we do have the capabilities of communicating with, our relatives we've lost and loved ones. But I think, again, this is the same situation like last time. I think there might be a bit of both that's happening. Yeah. And it muddies the waters. And this is what's so very, very problematic.
Yeah. Right. I've got some questions in the chat now. I've got to go back. Ian is asking, Steve, do you have any plans to investigate again with my good friend Don Phillips?
Well, I've just finished doing a TV show with Don Phillips for Unsolved Mysteries. It'll be out in October. And it is what they are saying in 35 years of Unsolved Mysteries. That is the best episode that they've had. It's also the longest episode that they're actually airing as well.
Excellent.
I do have some plans to do some bits, but it's more under the scientific scrutiny we've done. Yeah. Because that's what's required. To press him, see what his capabilities are, to push the boundaries. I want to know what the limitations are. So,
Becky.
Yeah, because there's a big debate as to what is Becky. And, it's very, very interesting. It is not a normal cohabitee situation. It's very, very odd. You know what's good for us is that she's ever present, it's replicatable, and that's great for science, because we can continue doing tests under different vigorous conditions.
Yeah, of course. Right, there's another question here. Tim says, Steve, you and your team investigated the haunting known as the Rochdale Poltergeist. What kind of phenomenon did you experience? I believe it was 1996, and I wonder, is it still haunted?
Well, the location I don't believe is haunted. We after we had the family relocated. At that time, we were writing a lot of protocols. I was doing a lot of corporate investigations. In fact, I did 16 years of corporate investigations. When we say corporate, those were big companies that wanted to keep it confidential. And that involves city councils and private landlords, and Rochdale City Council was one of them. And though that we've operated with councils all across the country, up to Scotland, in Stirling actually as well, provided this protocol to them into how to deal with situations if your tenants report disturbances, and keep control of the situation without it getting out of hand. So they're kind of being the clients at the end of the day, and we're protecting their interests as well as those that are having these difficulties. And some of them are very difficult, of course, traumatic even. Now, we had the family relocated because, yes, there was disturbances. That was confirmed. We had enough evidence to show that. And then the houses, we went through a process known as fallowing. What we do with a home, which is having disturbances, is that we ask them to board it up. And we don't want UV. No UV getting in. We want complete darkness in that. No, nothing. And we want the electricity cut off at the 3-phase coming in. That means that there's no electricity even coming through the 3-phase. The 3-phase is what comes in prior to your consumer unit, where all your fuses are. We want that turning off, and it has to stay fallow for 12 months. We're starving the phenomena out, in a sense of speaking. And especially when you're dealing with poltergeist phenomena, they're intelligent enough to move on. Yeah. And that, in this case, it was. And we had a specialized letter go out to any new tenant that goes in there. And it's asking specific questions, but not about the paranormal, because you don't ask somebody who's just moved in about things going on there. You don't want them to know, really tenants, to be honest. And but by their answers, we can work out. It's a very clever document, questions. And there was nothing reported there, so that was resolved. But the phenomena did follow the family for about maybe 3 or 4 weeks and then fizzled out. The disturbances were there. We a stereotypical type of poltergeist infestation, deliverable through a vexation cycle, stress, upset, that sort of thing. Because they're fear feeders. That's all these things. They're parasite. But what was very interesting was the forming of water. There was water formings. And what was interesting in August, I think it was August 96, I think it seems right, there was, strangely enough, there was a heat wave. Don't happen very well. That's a phenomenon in itself. But there was a heat wave across the country. It hadn't rained for several weeks, and there was a hosepipe ban on. And so we were trying to figure out, how does water get into the location? Now, this is a prefabricated bungalow. Upstairs in the loft area, because it's a bungalow, they didn't even have a header tank. In fact, they had no pipes going up there whatsoever. So there's no water above them. The only time you can get water is out of the tap, and the faucet, and the actual boiler is also in the bathroom, actually, behind the door. So it's got to be tap water. What else can it be from form of tap water? So that's why the analysis of this was taken, and it turned out it was far from tap water. Wow. The UCSM level on the normal tap water was like 93 to 97 USMs, and the phenomena of the water was 1,900 and something.
Where was the water?
The water appeared in a number of different places. It was I got called. Mr. Gardner had gone into the kitchen to make me a cup of tea, and a couple of others that were with me. And he shouted out, and I remember running into the kitchen, and I'll never forget this scene. I can only describe it. It was raining in the kitchen. Now, it's not a drizzle. This is heavy, heavy drops. And I'll give you an example. He's one of these guys that puts the milk in the cup first for a couple of
right. Yeah.
Right? Some people don't. Some people do. And I saw the droplet go into the mug, and the milk jumped out.
Oh wow!
So there were big droplets.
Yeah.
I looked up, and I'm getting wet. He sat on this small stool with an umbrella up, with a smirk on his face, as if to say, "I told you so," and I'm like, "What the hell?" And I'm looking up, and now the ceiling. You can see the ceiling, but there's something between you and the ceiling, and it might only be about an inch or half an inch, I don't know. And it's a whole shimmer. It's just a whole shimmer.
Oh.
And coming from that is these massive droplets. And within a minute, the kitchen was soaked, absolutely soaked. What happened then was, maybe about 3-4 minutes, the shimmer stopped, and the shimmer just kind of disappeared. It just, in parts, actually, it was a bit of there and then a bit, and then gone. But the water that had damaged the kitchen retained. So Mr. Garner opens his cupboard, and he's got like 3 or 4 different wonder mops. They're used to this. And he just gets at it. Not a word, nothing. It was like it was a mundane, normal thing. And I was like, what the hell have I just seen? And then he said, "Oh, it happens." And I thought, it happens? I mean, I've never seen anything like it in my life, to be honest with you. And I never probably will in my life. But I am only aware of a handful of cases worldwide of that to that level. There was times when a door would suddenly just water would just appear all over the door.
Oh, wow.
that would disappear. Now, the interesting one was when we took the analysis with water was in the hallway. And we saw this, and this is creepy looking. This is really creepy. And there's a photograph, and I can put it out there. You probably some of you viewers might have seen it. I'm a very young lad, and I've got this pad and I've got this pen, and I'm like looking up, going, "Oh my god!" And there was an arc of water moving in the hallway on the ceiling. Now, it was about this wide and about this long, and it was moving along the ceiling, and it was like. Do you remember if you got a glass of water and you flung it across your kitchen floor, you get parts of it that goes out further, don't you?
Yeah.
It was like parts of it would come out and then the rest of it would move on. And parts of it would move on. And it came to the light fitting and it stopped and decided to go round it. What the hell am I seeing here? So anyway, the loft door is right there. So, of course, this is an opportunity. We get up there off the loft, and we can see it, and we've got the hand over, and it's bone dry. There's nothing dusty. And yet underneath, you can see this water on it moving. I thought, this isn't normal. So we decided to take samples of it, but we had to take tap sample water as well, because we need a bench test.
Yeah.
Northwest Water Laboratories analysed it for us, and that's where we got the information back. It was not tap water.
What was it? Do you know what?
It was water, but it had been adversely affected somehow. And they don't really know, to be honest. The conductivity level in that water was so extreme. It was an unknown. And what we wanted to do is just prove that, well, because the people were saying, the council was saying, oh, well, we don't know what's going on. The family must be throwing water all over the place and throwing it on the ceiling. Well,
okay.
It's not tap water. So how did he do that?
Yeah.
And in fact, that happened when we'd relocated the family for the night to other family members. So none of them were there anyway.
No.
And to witness that, I have to say, and I got thumped in the back, of course, there. That wasn't very nice. But when I got thumped, it was like an electric shock and a thump at the same time. Now, the thump hurt, it bloody hurt, and I did have a bruise about this big on the back. And it was just to the left of my right kidney. And it was enough to lift me off the bed and basically put me on top of this small dressing table. And that happened so quick, I don't even recall it. But I'm a big guy. It takes a lot to lift me up off a bed when I'm sat on it to put me on top of a small dressing table.
Yeah.
But I felt that compellment of movement. Now, being an engineer when I left school, when you start as an electrical engineer, back then, you probably won't do it now for health and safety reasons, but they used to give me an electric shock. They don't give you one. They used to, because they want you to know what it's like.
Or like a battery.
So they just tap you with it, and you feel repelled. It pushes you away. That's what this is what alternative current does, rather than DC. Because the old DC, you'd hold it and you go, oh, you won't be able to let go. That's why it could kill people. But now with alternating current AC, means that it repels you, it pushes you away, which is a safety mechanism. And it felt like that, as well as that was the case. That was only the first case after 12 years I've been working in the subject came across where I was considering leaving because that bothered me. It bothered me because I was trying to understand how you can protect oneself against something that you cannot see and can lash out at any given time. And I was trying to get my head around that because I hadn't experienced that before. But then obviously over the few days as we go on, the adrenaline kicks in and you start asking questions. Well, how does it do that? What mechanism can it cause? What energies? And that kind of got me into it even more, So, but yeah, it's I've done only a handful, 5-6 poltergeist cases in 41 years, so they're very rare, despite what people will see on YouTube.
But then I suppose you've got that side of it where yes, it's scary, yes, you've experienced, yes, you've been hurt, but other people are depending on you, so you've stayed maybe to.
Oh yeah. I mean, we did help them as much as we can. We had to have them relocated, But then the phenomenon tracked them for 4 weeks. And
well, not only that, too. It's like I'm curious, like what makes it do that? What is it? How can I?
that's the thing, now we've learned through the experiments through Project Doorway. Can I tell you this? Yeah, I can tell you. that the phenomenon of poltergeist infestation, we believe, is a management agency. It's not just doing it to one property. It's multitasking. It's deliverable to a number of properties. And it's leaving quantum anchors in those properties to target the location. The quantum anchor is an apport. So what it does is the apport phenomena. It creates an apport, but because we've done analysis on apports, it turns out the apport is not the item that left. Oh no, it looks like it, feels like it, weighs the same, everything. You'd not know the difference. Under the microscope, it's not the item. Now, we now know these items which are left are quantum anchors, because when you relocate the apports, the phenomena tracks the apport for a certain duration of time. Now, this is even when it's a high severity and high frequency case. In other words, 10 incidences a day are happening. You take this away, you've got nothing for 3 or 4 days. And I mean, absolutely nothing. You've got the people ringing you up going, have you got rid of it? What have you done? You've done nothing but relocate the apport. However, you don't take the apports home, you take them to a location, and phenomena tends to manifest around them until it realizes. And when it realizes, it goes, oh, something, what's going on here? Oh, I'm not having that. And it tracks back to the location you initially were, generates another apport or something. It could even do that when you're not even in. How would you know? How do you know the cup of tea you're drinking out of, the cup, is an apport? If you're at work, you wouldn't know, would you? So, seemingly acting like quantum anchors. And we've been saying to people, and through the test procedures, relocating the apports causes suppression in the phenomena. Because it seems that we are dealing with some type of intelligence. It's not just possibly dealing with that one location, because this is how resourceful this phenomenon is. It's like a computer program. What it's doing is it's managing the situations at probably at different locations. And it's management. And this is why it needs quantum anchors, because it needs to know where to deliver the phenomena to.
Right.
It's a management thing. So basically, we can confuse it. We can take one step ahead and confuse it. And that's part of the paranormal mechanics. Now, we put this to the test, and we asked people to do this out there in the field. And they started coming back to us and saying, you were right. Remove the apport, remove phenomena.
How do you find that part, though? That's what I'm saying.
Well, you've got to be there.
Okay.
To recognize an apportation and an apportation process. Now, if you're not there, the likelihood is you might have an apport there. And you're not going to get rid of it. You're going to be stuck. It's clever. It's resourceful, this phenomena. When the real phenomena, when the phenomena taking real apports, when it's moving items, the likelihood is it's in that wall. It's under the floor. It's right beneath your feet. Because it doesn't have to transit it further and further away in long distances, because it takes more energy. It's so resourceful, this phenomena. It'll put it 2 feet away from you in the middle of the wall or under the floor. And how do we know that? Because with floorboards and walls have been taken down, and they found the items right next to them. And this is the thing. They're so resourceful, so clever.
So, I'm buggered because my house is built on a Roman villa.
Oh, my.
Steve, when you got some free time, come and spend a week here and you can investigate as much as you want.
That's a challenge.
you and Jackie, both of you, come over here, and honestly, because the phenomenon here is very airy-fairy, and it's not nasty, but I have had a pot thrown at me. And was it last week or the week? I think it was last week. I had to excuse myself from the show because I was here on my own. And there was 2 people having a conversation in my living room that weren't there. It was a bit sort of like, oh, I'm on my
own. we have that here. I mean, I do try not to bring my work home with me, but it's very hard sometimes, And it's not because I'm inviting anybody back like Don does, because he does.
Yeah.
Right, but it's just like sometimes you might pick up the odd. I don't know. It's like it's something that just wants to, attach or come with you or whatever. And we have had some crazy issues. Hammering at the door, the door's opening, front door opening, hammering at the door like a bailiff. And we're looking out. We can't see anybody.
Yeah.
I can't see him. I must have him on CCTV camera. Oh, well, do you know what they did? They deleted that one section. I'm playing it again, and suddenly I thought, oh, it's deleted that one section. And it's like the recordings that we've got. Now I've got a specific type of recorder. I've got a number of them, but this particular one I'm using, you cannot delete. Say, for instance, you've got a recording 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. You can't delete recording 3. You have to delete 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
Can't delete it. It's a special type of recorder. Oh, what a phenomenon can. The phenomenon can leave it 1, 2, 4, 5. You're not going to have number 3. And 3, I played back and go, oh my God, can you hear that? That is incredible on 3. Oh, they take it away. There it is. Not having it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like Bull Ride, a game. This is what you could have won.
Yeah. You know? No, I completely know that.
I've been seeing more people talking about that too, that they have certain sections of stuff missing from their equipment.
Yeah. They take it back. They're swines, they are.
Irene in Japan, she says, spirits that I have talked to can adapt to whatever language that you speak.
Mm-hmm.
That's funny, that, isn't it, that they can do that?
They can, and we proved it. Yeah, absolutely. They're incredible.
Anna says, Anna Goodrich, good evening, Anna. Thank you for joining us. Anna says she had a case that what she heard with her ears, or my ears, I assumed it was an animal or something outside of the window of where I was. It was loud. On my audio, it barely registers, and the sounds like 3 words being said, but nothing like that, nothing at all like what I heard in real time. It left me really puzzled. So she's getting sort of something else on her.
Yeah, well, that's because this is this transplacement phenomenon, and this is how different it can be. Because sometimes what you hear isn't exactly what gets recorded. Even in photography, we've had people say, "I took this photograph of this circular craft, and on the photograph, it's just a tiny little white dot," and they can't understand it. They say, "But this is what we saw. Why is it not turned out?" This is what it does, you see. It is so frustrating, you know, because they're always seemingly one step ahead of us. But yes, I mean, I've got some belters, you know, where there's knocking on the window, knock. And what you don't hear is caught on the camera. And when that knock is happening on the window, on the glass, you hear that on the camera, we've been trying to talk to you. It's on the camera. I didn't hear it, but it's on the camera. And it's like, you hear the knocking, and you think, what's that? And somebody knocking on the window at 3 o'clock in the morning. There's nobody there.
Yeah.
And a proper knock on the window, as if I don't know if it's done internally or externally, because you can't tell the difference sometimes, you know, with on a glass window. But just as that happened, because luckily the camera was running, it was the camera that picked up the vocal in association to this, not the hearing. So, yeah, it's strange. What we see is not always, you know, what is recorded. And it's the same for vocal sounds or audibles.
I remember Barry Fitzgerald, bless him. He took a group of people down into an oubliette somewhere. I'm not going to mention the place.
I know.
And they did a little experiment, and one person recorded it on his voice recorder watch thing. When it was played back, and they did it literally seconds later, he played it back, wasn't what they heard with their own ears. It's what they heard on the voice recorder was somebody unsheathing a sword. And with that, come on, let's all out. Let's go. So he's actually helped people, you know.
We are absolutely. I mean, we decided to take our best recordings and provide it to some Japanese company, which was specialist in instrumental transcommunication analysis and EVP. And we sent it off to him because we were trying to say, well, you know what, this is beyond your EVP. When you ask, you see, you've got EVP level 1, 2, and 3, or ABC. You know, you might say A's are the class A's and best, then your E's and your C's. Well, that's okay, but what we do is we split it and refer it to AVP, which is actual voice phenomenon, is when there's communication. Because EVP is not communication, EVP. If you look into the terminology, it's electronic voice phenomena is captured, but it's not in communication with you. They are vocal responses, you know, many occasions, you know. Sometimes there are conversations between two of them in some cases. We've got some, you know, We had a vase that was placed on the side with some glasses, a glass vase with some flowers in it. And we left a recording device, and the recording device picked up two sounded female voices. And one said, slightly older sounding than the younger one, said, what was it now? Something about the flowers. Where are whose are these flowers?
Oh.
And the other one said, that man got them.
Oh, that's really nice.
And then we get ones which are just completely random, like, I've seen a lovely dress. You think, what? I've seen I've seen a lovely dress. You think it's got absolutely nothing to do with us in the environment or whatever. So that's a lot of EVP. So, however, when you can say, can you please tell me this and tell me that, and you get an actual recorded reply, then you should be referring that as to something slightly different, like a actual voice phenomenon, because you're actually communicating here. Electronic voice phenomenon is not about communication when it was initially wrote up. It was about, and it all started with instrumental trance communication. It was birds, actually, people recording bird sounds. Mm-hmm. This is how it came to be with Spiritcom and that years and years ago, because they were picking up whispers and unusual, sounded like vocals. That's what generated the interest in the subject of investigation. And Spiritcom came in, started looking into it, instrumental trance communication, and it's developed into EVP. But we sent we sent the best one we had over to these specialists. And he came back, he did some looking into it and analysing it, and he came back and he sent me this email with the right rant. It was a right rant. And he said, look, when you're sending information only regarding EVP, the idea is to record it in a silent environment, not have people like your team talking or something, because it's very difficult to listen to the EVP with your team talking. The thing is, the team talking was the EVP.
That's crazy, isn't it?
I could not tell the difference between somebody who was there. And now, I don't know if you remember, but we did some experiments when we were at a certain location, not too far away, Nottingham. The glass dome with recording devices.
Yes.
Now, we've done our experiments at this end on that. And what's interesting is that the voice is in the dome with the device. And why? Because it speaks like that on the recorder. It's like it's got a peg on it. It's because the sound is captured inside the dome with the recording device.
I've seen that. It's amazing.
It's crazy, isn't it?
It is.
We have for these, or actually all of the experiments. I love that.
Yeah, it is crazy.
So Irene says something here. I'm going to get back to some of these messages. She says, I get spirits here that have lived themselves here in Tokyo very differently from other places in Japan, and it's disturbing to hear and see. You have to be careful with them because they aren't the type you want to work with. So have you had things that have really disturbed you, Steve, that you've had to sort of like, let's just stop this now, not proceed?
I mean, well, you know what, when it comes to communications with, not all of them are spirit. This is the problem. Mm-hmm. This is the biggest problem we have, is that we have interpretation that things are spirit, when in fact, sometimes there's deception taking place, mm-hmm. and there's pretense taking place. And this is when it can be problematic. And now you might have, some people might refer to them as misguided spirits. We can call them whatever you want at the end of the day, but they usually have a different aspect to them, positiveness or negativeness. And dealing with some of those things, can be sometimes problematic. There are ways of dealing with them, though, of course. And of course, when dealing with, the most severity of cases is your demon, your diabolical hauntings, your demonological stuff. Don't come across that very often, but I have come face to face with it on a few times, and even I backed off. Mm. I'm not stupid. At the end of the day, we all have limitations, but even I backed off on some of those things. Absolutely.
Steve, I have to tell you something really funny. When you were talking about the water thing in Rochdale, I was in a place, you would know the place. It was just me and my friend, and it looked like orange coloured, well, orange snot. That's the only way I can describe it. Orange snot dripping down this wall, and there was a lot of it. And at first, it's like, oh, what is that? It's plasma. That's that blood. What is it? Oh, it's just snot. And then my friend Neri, being Neri, she went, let me just check it. And it was a big globule of it on the wall. It was all on this one wall. And she licked it. And I went, you are joking. I said, what does it taste like? She says, very salty. And I was trying not to heave, and I sort of grabbed it into the kitchen. I said, wash your mouth out with this water now. That is disgusting. And then when we went back into the room, the wall was clear like it never existed.
Yeah.
And yet she licked it. I touched it, and it was, like very stringy, like snot, didn't weigh anything. But she actually licked it. She said, I'm doing this for science, and she licked it. I was like,
well, for doing it for science, I don't think I'd do that. I mean, I've analysed things. I mean, we've had plasma, frankincense actually once as well.
Yeah, but the fact that when we went back into the room, it disappeared, and then when we were telling people, they were looking like at us as, have you been on something?
Well, that's a bit like the water phenomenon. It's a bit like the water manifestations. It's a liquid form of manifestation. I mean, manifestations of liquids can be various shapes and forms, be it blood, tar, it can be a number of different things, including sort of a glue type of substances and stuff. But no, I don't.
Don't lick anything. No, just don't lick it.
No, but I would say, take samples. You have a sample tester with you, and take more than one, of course.
Because blood plasma has like a certain reddish orange.
It does.
Orangey. It was very see-through, very transparent.
It does. I know that. I got the report from the Jackie Hernandez case, and that was there was blood plasma in that as well, which was analysed. It does have a kind of a tinge to it. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if I would ever lick it.
No, because she licked it. This tongue came out. I thought, what are you doing? And then I was curious. Before I said, is she all right? What does it taste like? So what is it? As you do.
I would do the comparison test. Did you do it twice? Or what about that one over there? Is that the same?
Honestly, it took everything for me to stop heaving. Honestly, I marched her out of the room, got her to a sink and made her wash her mouth out immediately because we don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Went back in to take photographs and it's all gone. All gone. Just like that within seconds. It's crazy.
Yeah. I don't think I'd do that. But I have taken samples a few times in different places and got analysis back. And it's a very rigid protocol that you have to do to taking samples. And you always got to take more than what the television shows. They go, well, let's just take a little tiny bit, and you go like that, and you put it in, and you think, if you know what real CSI stuff is, you're not going to do that. You have to take a big dollop of it. I mean, you do, and it's the same. Yeah, you really, really do, and it makes me laugh. TV shows because they never get it right.
Yeah.
You have to take a lot more than what you actually show.
Well, yeah, because you got to run several different tests of the same substance.
Well, that's right, because it's not just going off to one section for that. You might be looking at this. We'll take a sample part and look at that. Then another sample part and look at that. On TV shows, just take this tiny little bit, and you think, good luck with that. You don't quite realize, what actually is involved.
Yeah. Well, we've done a full hour. Are you right to do another 15 minutes? Because I just feel like we can talk to you for hours and hours.
I wanted to bring up to speed regarding the practice and protocols of seance in regard to, because I've talked about, how do you get to NHI? What is the process of seance and what is the best way to go about it? So there is a few different methods. The old process is not something I would say you should do, but it works, and that's the esoteric, ritualistic version. There are a number of different ways, be it Latin, Enochian, Sumerian, and so on and so forth. It works, absolutely works, but it's the wrong way of doing it. It's really hammers at the door. It upsets things. You get results straight away. Fast. wrong.
Yes, they don't want you talking about it. You keep cutting out.
I know. I'm just going around and around it.
Man. Oh.
Uh-oh. Steve, can you hear us?
I'm sure, but it's going really bad on his side.
The minute he goes to talk about the seance bit, bang.
Yeah, I can't hear.
Steve, if you can hear me, come out and go back in.
Yeah.
Yeah. How weird is that?
To go and do these experiments, because that's what got me interested in all this paranormal stuff to begin with.
Got you. Yeah, got you now.
I just had to. I had a one-to-one say, "Look, stop it," and hey, that happens so many times. Okay, so I'll try and not be so. I'll try and make it less annoying for them. Okay, so the nicer way of going about it is through the step process, which is spiritual communication. I'm not going to talk about the esoteric stuff because it'll all end up offline. And that step process is you go through the normal spiritualistic process movement. Now, what you've got to do, and this is why people fail. First off, success needs to be, well, doesn't need to be, can work, but better success below ground level. That's the first. Okay, there's a geological aspect to that. I'm not going to get into it in this show. Secondly, it's your circle.
Yes.
Because this phenomena is a bit like faith apparitions. People who have faith apparitions have to believe in their religion. They won't see faith, they won't have faith apparitions. This is what the phenomenon is like. It's choosy. It doesn't like skeptics. It doesn't like cynics. It doesn't like non-believers. You're the weak link. If that happens, what it wants is a unity of people which are open-minded, maybe experiencers, people that it can manipulate easily if it wants to, and that strengthens the link. Now, when you've got it, now that can take some. Sometimes it's took us months through bringing the right people in, testing the procedures. What's the results? Okay, now we've got to make the result, make marks of the results. Let's do something. Let's change this person now. Let's do this. That. Eventually, through the power of elimination, you end up with your circle.
Yeah.
Now, best circles are always the same amount as a coven. Always have been. For some reason, power numbers. However, doesn't necessarily have to be, but getting to that point is the main thing. Then it's that process of leading into the spiritual contact. Now, there are a number of different ways, and people have different habits of doing things. Now, no matter, they might turn around, or you might have heard, "Oh, it's got to be in complete darkness." That's not true. No. That's part of the deception. We've done tests in sunniest of days, and we've had manifestations. Even in Lawrence Livermore laboratories put that to the test, and it proves them that is a deception. So when in Skull, in a small town of Norfolk, in a cellar underground, they were told, no lights, everything has to be in dark. We can't manifest properly in the dark. It's a lie. It's a lie. They're deceiving people. That was a lie. Now, once you get through that process, like I said, that step level through that, then you push through to the boundaries of physical manifestation. That's the poltergeist disturbance-y type stuff.
Yeah.
You're going to get audible, you're going to get light phenomena, you're going to get those sort of things. Then you push through. Now, that once you get maybe 2 weeks of establishing that, you're pretty much ready to sort of say, I want to communicate with things beyond our realm, outside our reality. Not having to use the term NHI or ETs or anything like that. But that is what it is. Because they don't know what else to refer to. That's why they call it NHI, non-human intelligence. That's what it is. Then what happens is when you start, you'll start these humming sounds, these environmental sounds that you cannot work out. where they're coming from, but it's seemingly. And you start to get the process of communication. That process of communication is significantly different than your average spirit communication. It's extraordinarily clear. It's very precise, and it can do that multiple ways. In fact, what was very clever is the recordings and the DVP. So the DVP came out of the air. The recorder recorded it, but two of the words were different.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, that's strange, isn't it? I know. Very weird. And they like to play little things like that. But eventually you get to the NHI stuff. Now, once you get to the NHI stuff, what's really interesting is it's like a telephone off the hook. You do not have to go back and build up to NHI contact. You're there. It's like a phone off the hook. You can go back there a week later. You go back there tomorrow. They're there. But
if one of your circle isn't there that particular week, does it change?
You've got to keep the circle. You've got to manage the situation. Now, if you bring the same parameters back in, they'll be there straight away. There's no building up again. Even if it's a week later, a month later, or whatever, they're there. Now, it's like a phone off the hook. That's all I can imagine, really. Now, what's interesting is that when we started to get into those experiments, we started having some difficulties because it's exciting to see this stuff. And I'll tell you where it reached to, some of these experiments. It reached to the point where direct voice phenomena was communicating, no more recording devices needed. Direct voice phenomena, bang, all the time because of regularity. This is after 11 months of work, though, with it. So, but you have to build that up. And you have to kind of build I don't know if it's trust, whatever. I don't know what it is, but the longer you're at it, the more sustainable it becomes. Now, it got to the point, and this is going to sound ridiculous, but it's the truth, is that direct voice phenomena, communications going backwards and forwards, and sometimes they're not just asking questions. We're not just asking questions, getting responses. They are also communicating from themselves. And one of those communications was there was a glass jar on the table, and it was starting to move across the table. It moved maybe 2 or 3 foot in, I don't know, maybe about 5 seconds, so it's just going across the table. The direct voice for the DVP came out to replace it. We thought, does it mean replace it, or just put it back? I think it's just put it back. Pick it up, put it back. Excuse me. And through about a 2-hour session, this happened several times. And we thought, what are they doing? Are they just wanting to demonstrate that they can move this object across the table? Now, as it got later into the night, there was one again. The DVP came to basically replace it, and thought, okay, put it back. It went to put it back, and your hand went right through it.
What?
You couldn't pick it up. Wow. Now, this is what's interesting. When you fired the laser at it, there was reflection. This shadow, the reflection, is there in our reality, but not in the physical sense. It is there in the visual sense. So you can fire a laser at it, and you can see it ping off the direction of what the scatter of light. You can see shadow created from it. When you place your hand through it, it feels like, how do I explain it? It's an odd sensation. It's like, if you've got an aerosol, and you spray it over your hand feels cold.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? When your hand just enters it, you get a slight shimmering across the hand, and you feel that cold. And now, but when measuring it with a temperature unit, there was no difference in temperature. It's a sensation, a physical sensation.
Yeah.
But it's not a real sensation of coldness.
Did more than one person, did they experience that, or did
we were all there? Yeah, we were all there. Yeah,
they had their hand go through it.
Oh yeah. Everybody wanted to try that a few times. That was great. Wow. So it was like, what the hell? And it was a demonstration, metaphysical demonstration by them. They wanted to demonstrate eventually, you reached, and it was there. It was solid. Move it back. So it was like a process for about maybe 5-6 minutes. Have your little game, have a little play, test this out. This you'll find this amusing. But for them, they're demonstrating metaphysicality.
And this links into this cryptid thing, where the Bigfoots are seen and it's all seemed to be linking in.
Connected, isn't it?
It is.
It was phenomenal, and that is probably the highest point in all these experiments.
Wow.
I've experienced. It was absolutely incredible, and I thank them for that, for showing that, because when we go back to other experiments, and not just ours, others, even the skull, they had these objects, sometimes miniature UFOs. On some cases, that was the further experiments that took place in Advanced Skull. There was the light phenomena, which interacted with them. Now, the light phenomena, which had mass to it, you come over and land in your hand, and it was heavy. You could weight its mass, and you could feel it in your hand. Now, there's about 700 watts coming from that light. It's about this big. It is 700. It's like the size of a Dobber marble, if you know what I mean.
Right. Yeah.
Show me age here now, aren't I? But I mean, it's about it's about that size, and feels about that weight, but it's giving out just over 700 watts of light energy. It's blinding. You can't look at it.
In theory, they should have been burnt by that, by holding that.
Yeah, there's no heat, no coldness, but weight.
Yeah.
There's definitely mass to it, but it's so bright you can't actually stare at it. And you grab it in your hands, and it's shining, and it's lighting up the room, and people, when it's traveling around people, it's lighting up people. Now, the fact about that is that sometimes these lights would go boom, boom, boom on the table, but then go through, and then come up, and go through it again, and come up, and then go boom, boom, boom. Again, demonstrating its metaphysical abilities.
Yeah.
That sometimes they can just become metaphysical. Sometimes they're just physical 1 minute and choose not to be. Now, I've argued the point, a couple of things that I've mentioned tonight, just to finish off on, that when we did the analysis on the apportation phenomena, and we took it to Lancaster University to do atomic microscopy on it, 3 levels of this. And that's probably Lancaster University.
Yeah.
Just looking at through a microscope, is it?
Well, it's a little bit more than that. It's not just looking at it, but it's analysing what the consistencies of everything is in that. It pulls it apart at atomic level. It's atomic level.
Okay.
And that's what it's made of. And there are 3 different ways of doing that. Now, it's amazing because you can see, oh, well, it was a mug. So you can see that, oh, yes, you can see the ceramics, you can see the glazing, you can see the heating process, you can see the colouring, you can see everything.
Mm-hmm.
Puts all the data up. Puts in the apported mug, because we had to take a test mug with us, because we asked them, have you got a mug that can take this mug as the apported? Have you got another one? Well, luckily for us, they had 4 of them and bought it at Christmas time, 3 months earlier. Here's the other one for the same pack.
Yeah.
Perfect. Both manufactured at the same time, placed in the box. Great. Perfect test. So we did the test, that put it in. All the results come up. The computer looks at the analysis of the apport and says, can't match it. It's actually saying, this isn't that. But it was, well, it's got to be that. This is not that. So what stands out most of us, for us, why isn't it? Diathermic alteration was the key thing. It cannot be found. That diathermic alteration cannot be found in that. It cannot happen in the test mug.
Yeah.
But it's there in this mug. Something's not adding up. It's not acting or reacting as it should be, as it should be if it was the real mug. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't seem to be like it's the real mug that's been affected in some way. It seems like it's a complete mimic of the mug in some way. It's like there's properties in there you shouldn't expect. So when we're looking at that diathermic reaction was interesting because it matched another diathermic reaction in a result. But that result wasn't a poltergeist apportation. What happened was it was a MUFON case of a UFO that came close down to the ground, and it manifested. It disappeared in the sky and appeared at the ground. Woo! Boom, boom.
Yeah.
Literally a foot from the ground, affected the plants. And then it actually shrunk in size into itself. And it's gone. Never flew off. Newfoundland guys come out, they bring out the specialists, they look at the plants, they take samples of the plants, they look, something's not right with them, they've been affected in some way. Now they conduct an experiment, a bit like our analysis. There's known a plant biological traumatology test.
Right.
And the diathermic reaction was in the plants.
Oh, wow.
Now, that means to us, does the sudden disappearance and appearance of a UFO and an apportation in the poltergeist case utilize the same physics here?
Good.
Oh.
Getting the mind going now. Yeah, the materialization process.
Mm-hmm.
Physics that are involved, the paranormal mechanics.
Yeah.
And that's what's really fascinating when we started getting into this, because when we're doing seance and getting all these sort of things, we realize that some of the apportation phenomena that takes place in the seance process, when it can be measured, that slight time dilation that's taking place, especially if items are brought over. Like Skull had a newspaper that came over. The newspaper aged 500 days per day, you know, and went brown that fast, you know, because it was from 1944 and it happened in 1998.
Yeah.
And they worked out the process over 2 or 3 days. It caught up all those years. It was like brand new mint when it first appeared.
So should we be worried about apports if we're in situations where an apport happens?
Well, if you
should we leave them?
No, I would say if you are aware, anybody who's watching this, that you have disturbances and you think that an apportation taking place, relocate the apportation out of your property. That is the best advice I give. Now, myself and Barry were on a call last week talking to one particular guy, reached out to us after taking our advice. We just put it out there. This person was listening and decided to do it. And it suppressed the phenomena. He kept doing it and it suppressed it till it ended. And he said, it works. The process, the pattern works. And that is because it's a matter of identification. Now, the phenomena can be tricky because it might say, okay, I'm going to wait till you're out at work and then I'm going to do it. And you won't know what's.
Yeah.
And that is pure determination at wanting it to stay. Unfortunately, when that happens, because you can't analyze everything in the home, is that you're with it until it basically diminishes. That's the problem. It can countermeasure. This phenomenon learns and evolves. And when it realizes what we're doing, sometimes it does those sort of things and probably establishes an apport in the home when you're not even there, so you wouldn't even know. And
what about apports if let's say, right, I'll give you an example. This is true. We shut Dan in a cell in Derby Jail.
Oh, yes.
And he heard a marble drop. Dink, dink, dink. Well, he heard something drop and he heard it roll. He then got up, saw it on the ground, marble. It shouldn't have been there. It wasn't there to start with. It appeared there. He heard it drop. He picked it up, put it in his pocket, and he took it home. I mean, should you have done that? Yeah, just a little souvenir.
Some people are not too bothered about taking phenomena back, but I don't do it because, simply because, I've done it a few times years ago because it was quirky, it was fun, watch what happens when I take this over, see if anything kicks off. But, when things are hammering at your door at 3 o'clock in the morning or this things are going off, things are faulting, eventually you kind of go, I'm going to stop doing this, because you get the fun suddenly quickly disappears and it becomes a nuisance. We don't want that. But when dealing with NHI, it's like amplified tenfold. When you're taking that back home, that is stuff that causes absolute chaos. You could be attacked. I mean, I've been attacked whilst I've been sleeping, and it is not nice. It's not a pleasant experience.
No.
And myself and Barry have been through that many times, and it's not good. But we try and do it. We make sure the respite protocol comes in. Now, the respite protocol means that you cannot, even though it's exciting, and it is because you want to do it every day. You go, oh my God, let me do it again. It's brilliant. It's fantastic. What's going to happen tonight?
Need a break.
We learned the hard way because it started to get under your skin and follow you home. So we had to bring in the protocols, and that protocol is the 3 and 7 or the 2 and 5. That means, you've got to split it up. You do 2 times out of 5 or 3 times out of 7 at the most, and not anymore. You must break your protocols. You must have that respite in between, so that it doesn't latch on so heavily. Now, that does happen, and it is part of that process. Now, conducting those specialized types of experiments take a long time, but once you reach NHI level, you can't change your circle, because that's the whole foundation of what it's built. But it becomes harder and harder to manage the circle, because you catch the eye of NHI, and then over a period of time, there's more of them and more of them. What happens is that you get to a point where you're starting to lose control of the circle.
Yeah.
That's exactly why skulls shut down.
And, I didn't know that.
Oh yes, I knew Robin very, very well. He was a good friend. Unfortunately, he passed away. And I know about the books that he wrote, and I know about how much information he didn't put in them.
Yeah.
I will tell you that Robin and his team, mostly Robin though, because he was the initiator, never left him that phenomenon. Never left him. Couldn't get rid of it. And that was one of the problems. And this is why they lost control over the management of it through the NHI. Because the NHI there were lots and lots of them, and they couldn't maintain the control. They had to shut it down. It was dangerous, So, and that's what they did. And that's the problem, because this is not something you can maintain for long. I would say 15, 16 months at most, and you've got to have to shut it down. Now, they'd gone through the spiritual aspect of communication and poltergeist type stuff for about 4 or 5 years. But the remaining couple of years that they were doing the skull, that is when they got into NHI. And that's what brought skull to an end.
Right.
And that's the management of it. And that's how it kind of works. But you know what? It's fascinating. And if you didn't see it with your own eyes, you would never believe anybody. It's true. I don't expect people to believe it, but you know what? If you were there and see it, you can only say, well, okay, I've seen some things, and it don't make any sense to me whatsoever about the physics and the reality of our world. And how this phenomenon can manipulate us and manipulate it. And it makes you sit there. I used to lie there in bed for weeks, sat there pondering.
Did I really see that? Was I imagining that? Can you pinch me? Am I here? Right, so I've got some little comments. So I'm going to run through these very quickly, and then I'll let you go, Steve, because I know that you're tired. But where do I start from? I lost them after a little while. Hang on. Oh, Irene says, it's hilarious. How do I get the spirits telling me to bleep off? Oh, she gets spirits telling me to bleep off, and it's funny because I'm not going anywhere. So she controls them.
I've had them say all sorts of
spirits mess about with equipment.
Oh yeah, they do. They love to mess about with.
Oh, when you went off and we lost you for a little while, Irene's saying that they're telling me don't talk about the subject, like you were warned.
I know. It's because I start getting into the esoteric stuff, and they don't like that. It's happened loads of times. It's very difficult to talk about it when you can't talk about it.
Catherine says, sorry all, I'm in the process of dealing with God level idiocy. Deep sigh. Somebody stop this planet. I want to get off.
Yeah.
Irene, I love doing what I do, even though sometimes I wish I never had the gift.
Yes, it comes as I totally get that. Absolutely.
She says she's got some people thinking that we're circus acts, and I say I'm not one of your fortune tellers like Madame Medusa.
I know, people's aspects of what they think and what they consider is so crazy these days. It really is. It really is.
That feeling that you explained, she said, Catherine says it feels like cold air, with the hand going through the glass.
It really does, yeah. It's very strange.
We have Bigfoot, Hibby gone, and the scientist says that probably Godzilla did exist, but the Hibigon's DNA changed after the atomic bomb on Hiroshima, where it was last seen.
Who knows? There's a lot of strange things out there. I mean, I've studied the cryptid phenomena over the years and been to
Thank you, Andy.
I've tracked it. I've been to the locations, and I can say that there seems to be. It's not just simply as an animal. I mean, you know what? We took 30 years to find a panda when we knew it existed, and that's we know it's elusive because it's hard to get into that jungle and find them. But this is a next level. This is when you fall in the tracks, and then all of a sudden you got half a track there, and the rest of it disappears. This is in snow. I mean, it's like, what the hell?
Catherine says, "Are you speaking about orbs?" No, we weren't talking about orbs. This is above an orb level. This is. Anna says, "This has been absolutely fascinating. Thank you all. I could listen for hours too. I love hearing the proper scientific analysis that this has been done too." See, we told you. We told you. We told you, Anna, you didn't want to miss this one. Catherine's a bit confused. No, we weren't talking about orbs at all.
She's talking about light that you were talking about going through the cable and back up through, and
it's they are. I mean, they're not. It's how you want to refer what an orb is in different contexts means different things. I mean, initially orbs were things that are of a photographic nature, but then you got physical balls of light seen in the paranormal aspect. Happened during the Jackie Hernandez case. It happened on a number of others. I've got the photographic evidence of that. You can see that the light is down near the skirting board and they manifest, and you can see that they're shining light onto the carpet. There's shadow from them. It is more than an orb. It is a physical manifestation of an intelligent light formation, which interacts not only by request from you vocally, but also by thought. Please come over to my hand in your head, and it kind of comes over to your hand. So that's what's so incredible about the intelligence.
Irene says, if you want to see UFO footage, come to Japan. Ghost ships and our Bermuda Triangle is there.
Yes, you have a lot of stuff in Japan. Absolutely.
Yes.
I've done quite a bit of work for Japanese television over the years, and I find the fascination that loads of places. Suicide Forest, for example.
Irene knows that very well. She's been there a few times.
A negative location. It's a negative magnetic anomaly, which constitutes the incidents there, and many other similars around the world. But there's some fascinating places there.
Yeah. Do you think that aliens live in our oceans and mountains on Earth?
100%.
Yep.
Yeah.
There are more here than there are there. I've seen people going, "Oh, where are they?" And I said, "Well, you're already on them."
Yeah.
I've took them to the location where these things are going into the ground, and you're stood on the ground. They're geologically connected, and they must be hiding the oceans, especially. Yeah.
Yep.
Assuming that the occupants of the UFO and the poltergeist are both within the same wavelength, they cannot and will not exhibit any similar features in action or otherwise.
Well, you know what? If we look at the cryptid phenomena, for an example, what is the Dogman incident? The Dogman phenomena, they pursue people. It's all about fear feeding. It's a fear feeding parasite. When people fall over and this thing gets up to them, I mean, this thing is huge. It's got snarling, and it's got big teeth and things. It's a predator. It's a master predator. What's it do when you're a meal ticket lying on the floor because you've fallen over? It runs away. It doesn't do anything. The game's up. The whole process is fear feeding. This is, there's been incidents when they tried to get into wooden buildings, out in the forest lands and stuff, frightening people and kids and stuff. And it's got hold of the hand and going, as if you're trying to tease a child, scare them after that. I mean, this thing could just come straight through the wall if you wanted to. No, it's about fear feeding. So it's like a physical poltergeist manifestation.
Yeah.
They are fear feeders, So, and in regarding the UFO phenomenon, there's a lot of correlation between, the paranormal and ufological. And what I've always said is trying to break down those compartmentalizations. UFO guys don't deal with the paranormal. Paranormal guys don't deal with the UFO guys. We need to just say, you want a clear picture, you've got to look at the whole scope of phenomenology. then you start to get a clearer picture of what's going on in this world. And don't get me wrong, it was only about maybe 3 months ago I got roped in on a conversation with the bigwigs from the US and wanted to ask me questions. First opening questions: have I ever worked for MI5, the MOD? Da 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 da. They wanted to know. They wanted to know about. There was what I call a red topic. There were 2 red topics on what we talked about, which they didn't like us putting out. But they're regulated, and I told them straight: "You're regulated. I'm not. You have to. You're in the confines of the government. I'm not."
Yeah.
That same week, Barry gets roped in Ireland, right? And basically, they tried to pay him off and say, "Look, we need you to toe the line." They didn't like the red topics. And Barry told them where to go as well. At the end of the day, we've got to advance. We've got to push forward. Yeah. And like I say, they might not like it that we just throw stuff out, but we're not regulated. Nobody's going to stop us from doing that. So,
No.
We've got to learn and advance forward, haven't we, at the end of the day?
Well, Steve, this has been absolutely fantastic. And I think we've literally just skimmed the surface with you, and there's more conversations to be had. And if I can arrange it, I'll try and get you and Barry on together.
Oh, yeah.
That might make a really good conversation, but we won't tell Barry that you're my favourite. Okay, so.
No, okay. Well, me, myself and Barry do quite a number of things together. So, absolutely, yeah, we'd both be happy to come on.
It's a double trouble that night.
Just get in touch and we'll arrange it. Yeah.
Okay, I will do. But Steve, it's been really great to have you on. If people want to get in contact with you or ask you anything,
well, I used to reel out. I used to spend 5 minutes reeling out all the websites and stuff. But basically, I just say type Steve Mera in MERA, Steve Mera into Google, and
it will come up.
Find me all over the place. The main website, we'll just use the main one then, is Awakening Event Routines. You've already made a note of that.
Yeah.
And you can find all on things on there, regarding our events and experiments that are coming up, the magazine, of course. And
the YouTube channel?
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, Steve Mera Official is. Yeah, you'll find Project Doorway stuff on there as well as other things that we're putting out.
And it's a really good watch. I can really thoroughly recommend them. I don't fully understand a lot of it, but it's a good watch. I have to keep watching it over and go, oh, yeah, I get it now, because I'm a bit thick, as you already know.
No, yeah, it's just all good.
Thank you ever so much, Steve.
Welcome, listen, stay in touch. Thanks for having me on the show, and we'll talk soon. Okay.
Yes. Guys, tomorrow night, if you can tune in, we've got the Weird Room tomorrow at 8:00. Eric, what are you talking about tomorrow?
The Green Children.
Ooh, the Green Children. So that's going to be an interesting one. And on Friday, you've got the Friday Freak Show with Ian, Nettie and Bri as normal. Shows will always be available on catch up. So if you miss any, you can always catch up. We never take them down. So they'll always be there for you to see. But we are going to say good night. And thank you for watching. Thank you to everybody in the chat, and especially to Steve and Eric. Thank you very much. And we'll be back next week. Take care, everyone.
All right.